Ladies and gentlemen, effervescent, gorgeous Ma Anand Sheela for you. She needs no introduction, still young, vibrant. I go directly to a question because everyone knows who you are. I don't want to waste their time by introducing you again. You are a person who has lived by your own rules. And your rule number two says give everyone a second chance. So if you would, what would be that second chance you would give your Bhagwan? Mike.
Very good question. Where do I give Bhagwan the second chance? A difficult question for me because he's not part of all rules and regulation. He's beyond. So I have to exempt him from second chance. And second chance, when I say give yourself, is to don't feel that one doesn't get another opportunity. In life, every day we get opportunities, and we have to learn to recognize the opportunities and give ourselves a second chance by looking at a lost opportunity. No problem, it's like a child starts walking, falls, but he must get up again and walk again. That's what I mean by it.
But even as you say that, when we read your books, the recent books, Don't Kill Him or By My Own Rules, everywhere as a reader, I have felt that, somewhere you wanted to correct the system. Somewhere you were trying to, maybe I would have felt that way, that if you had a rewind button, you would have, wound back to a point in history and replayed it all again. So that's why I said, if you were to give Bhagwan a second chance to correct some of his mistakes, I know that he is transient, he just passed by. That is true, accepting that. But he was a human being before he became the Bhagwan. But we all need a second chance. So what are the corrections that you would have expected him to make? Maybe the friends he got later, the people whom he allowed to come into Rajneeshpuram without checking antecedents. There will be 100 things like that.
Explain to me your question. I didn't understand it
In
well enough.
Rajneeshpuram, after the initial fad of Rajneeshpuram, we have read that Bhagwan allowed a lot of people to come in.
Bhagwan allowed?
A lot of disciples to come to Rajneeshpuram.
Right.
Yes, and in one of your books, it's very clearly mentioned that they probably led to the separation between you and Bhagwan.
It is true that I and Bhagwan were considered non-separable.
Was it love affair or was it a platonic relation? Was it a love affair or was it a platonic relation?
It was all affairs. But there were no definitions of the love affair or non-love affair. I was simply in love with him. And for me, he was my world. And world thought that I and Bhagwan are not separable. My strength came to do the work I did for Bhagwan from that love affair, from that love, that feeling of wanting to offer him the stars on a golden plate. And when I left Bhagwan, I left from the same strength that I loved him, I left him. Because leaving him I have lost my existence at that moment. I was on the street at that moment. I did not know the outside world. I knew the world in Rajneshpuram, world around Bhagwan, because I was with him 14 years. And outside was not my interest to know. At that critical point, I choose to leave him. When I left, I took all risk. And I didn't know if I will survive, because future no one knows. I could have damaged my psychology, I could have damaged physically. I was taken as a person negatively. World had rejected me the moment I left Bhagwan. And this rejection was profound. How profound it was, I tell you, when I come in a prison, for first 10 months, I slept in a cocoon position. Almost intuitively, my body was being protected. And cocoon position is a position of security.
Tell us about those days that before that led you to the final separation. How were you mentally preparing for the separation? Did you meet Bhagwan before you left him? Did he cry when you left?
There came a point where I had to look inside myself for my integrity. Either I compromise my integrity or I leave. That was the intuitive feeling that came up in me. It was the time when Bhagwan had started experimenting with drugs, first through medicine and then I don't know what else. This information I was given by our drugstore, that Bhagwan's house was ordering large amount of barbiturates, Valiums, and few other drugs that one cannot need in the amounts they were ordering. So immediately, I, who had the responsibility to protect Bhagwan, Bhagwan's teachings, and Bhagwan's commune, went straight to Bhagwan and I asked Bhagwan, this is what I have heard. These are the prescription of your doctors. Please tell me what I have to do. Because this is a very volatile situation. The US government is looking for an excuse to throw us out of US. They will pick this up with narcotics department, investigations will start, and we will be in a big situation. Not only that, it is hazardous to your health. And it is your instruction to me when I was given job of your secretary, I was to look after you and protect you. How can I deal with it? And his answer was very casual to me. Sheela, you do not interfere.
So that means there was someone who was
You
closer to
stay
him.
out of it.
So does that mean there was someone closer to him than Sheila and you became possessive about it? Is that what we need to understand?
I don't know closer, but his medical doctor, who was also a sannyasin, lived in his house. His caretaker, who look after his food and clothing and the living accommodation, she lived there together with few other people who helped her. So they were there for daily.
So Sheila lost relevance there. Sheila was sort of eased out of Bhagwan's inner coterie.
Right. So I was to deal with Bhagwan's work outside, and the caretaker was to deal with his personal needs. And we had very clear demarcation. So,
Did it sadden you anyway? Were you sad when someone else came between you and Bhagwan? No, you were not getting the access that you once had. No.
no. Question of jealousy never came to me, because when he made me his secretary, he first thing said, I'm putting you in a position of a world envy. Don't fall for this trap of jealousy. Very profound words. And I dropped jealousy right in that moment at his feet. I have not felt jealousy from this moment, even today. Never. If I have to inform Bhagwan of information, information comes very clean. No emotions of mine go in. And they are not polluted. There is no salt or masala that you put in communication.
So do you mean to say that the world, a part of the world, I must say, without begging your pardon, still believes you were behind the bio attack on Bhagwan? You had started giving him drugs. There are so many of those speculations happening. You would have heard them yourself. It's not something which I derived.
Let me understand the question. You mean I attack Bhagwan?
That's what a part of the world thought then.
Oh, world says many things.
Because it adds to the fact that Bhagwan didn't take your leaving lightly. He was very harsh at you. His words were very harsh after you left. He accused you of taking away money and things.
He accused me of many more things.
Yes.
That in itself shows it was not true.
But how can it happen?
The amount, the quantity of accusation, that in itself
Was he
is
pressured to say that?
my protection.
Was he pressured to do that? How can you say it was for your protection when a person who loved him so dearly leaves and suddenly when he levels pelt you with rocks and rocks of accusation? How can you say that it is for your protection?
Bear in mind, when a normal lovers break up, the accusation fly from one end to the other end.
Very true.
Bhagwan was a man, comfortable man with Sheela around, and now Sheela has gone. Naturally, accusation will be there.
So you admit that there was beyond all spiritual curtains, there was a bond, a love bond between you and Bhagwan.
You know, this is something you must understand. my love affair with Bhagwan was not spiritual, it was very human.
Was it physical also?
Huh?
Was it physical also? Because
No, it wasn't physical. I have not had sex with him, but my intimacy to him was far greater than physical involvement. I give you an example. Bhagwan came in the evening to my house to greet journalists. One day the light was not functioning well and it disturbed his eyes. That day I was traveling, so I wasn't at home. So my secretary would assist Bhagwan for that moment. After the lecture finished, Bhagwan complains about this light, and my secretary Savita says she will get it repaired. Then she brings Bhagwan home, and by the time Bhagwan reaches home, he says, Savita, no, wait till Sheela comes. Sheela will do it. She knows. So even in small matters, he trusted me. He found me that I would optimize his comfort. So it was that kind of relationship.
was too much dependent on you. Was he too much dependent on you?
As one could say he was dependent on me. One could also say that my generosity towards him was extraordinary in material things. And I got great pleasure fulfilling his desires, small desires.
They were not small desires, because having a Rolls Royce, he wants a Rolls Royce and you would get it the next morning for him. Diamond studded watches. Where did you raise this money for these gifts?
Sheela raises the money for it.
Yes, how?
Many different ways. Bhagwan had many wealthy sannyasins who
But don't you think it
gave
is wrong?
generously. We were very good business people. We did businesses and we were self-sustained. Bhagwan himself had a wonderful product which even today is a good product. That is his lectures, his video, audio, publications. The money keeps coming and money has to be used. And if it was Bhagwan's pleasure, why not?
But did Bhagwan ever thought of giving that money back to India, Indian society, uplifting, some of the rural India, or maybe you would have thought giving something to Gujarat? No.
It was money of Western sannyasins mostly. And for us, America, India, we were globalists.
When did this shift happen in him? When did he start loving this huge, riches of sannyasi life?
It started after Pune Ashram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you trace a starting point when he first loved for Rolls Royce or for the
Yeah,
costume?
I can almost think and remember maybe 76.
What
I
was the
brought the
what was
first Rolls Royce.
What was a conscious decision? Was it a conscious decision? Was it a conscious decision to go in for rich cars, costume change, wardrobe change?
No, you can blame that on me. I am guilty of it. I was in US returning back. I wanted to bring a nice present. My brother then was using Rolls Royce and I was enjoying driving it. So I said, why not take for Bhagwan a Rolls Royce? And that's how I planned it.
When you say that, you had left jealousy outside the ashram door, in the chapter in your book, uh, chapter 11, I think, or rather your rule number 11, there's a specific mention of your then boyfriend, Chinmayanand.
I, I
Your then boyfriend, your lover, Chinmayanand, if I got the name right, in the rule sex and sexuality. Chinmayanand goes to Bhagwan and complains that Sheila comes whenever he is with someone else. So where you
Sheila comes
whenever your lover Chinmayanand was with another person, like Sheila has that intuition to find out when I'm with another person. So that means were you suspicious of him, jealous of him? I think it is chapter
no,
11.
I don't remember, or I am not understanding the.
In your book, My Own Rules, the chapter name, I think, my memory is Sex and Sexuality. In that, in one portion, you mention about intuition.
About?
Intuition.
Right.
Right? And there
Yeah. Okay, now I know. And now tell me.
Then the Chinmayanand goes to Bhagwan and says, Sheila
Chinmaya.
intuitively knows when I'm with
Right.
another woman.
Right.
Chinmayananda.
Right.
And then, so that doesn't that mean that you are suspicious of men who are closer to you when they were with other people?
No, it is not just my problem. It is problem of many women.
But you're Ma Sheila. You would have transcended all those normal human feelings.
But then I was not a secretary of Bhagwan. I was just an ordinary sannyasin living in Punashram and working for Bhagwan. It's a very funny story. I would, my first husband, Chinmaya, and we were very big lovers. He was given 1.5 years to live because of cancer. And he wound up living 13 years with me. And one day, I and Chinmaya go to darshan to Bhagwan. And there, Chinmaya complains to Bhagwan, or he tells Bhagwan as a joke, it is so canny that whenever I'm with another woman, ready to have sex, and Sheila comes, I could be working, and that was even before sannyas. I would be working in a restaurant. When I was a student, I did, to earn money, worked in a restaurant and a bar. And suddenly, I would have a feeling to go pick up some more lemon from house because there were not enough lemons in the bar, and quickly get in the car and go. Sure enough, he has another woman there. And that was very canny. And Bhagwan had such a laugh about it. And then he explained how intuition works.
Yes, that's my question was, but that means you are jealous. But you clarify that it was before your sannyasin days.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward, after you left Rajneeshpuram, after you spent time in jail, when was the time that you decided that you should have another Sheila avatar? What was the starting point? Moving to Switzerland or meeting?
I was very disturbed with Bhagwan's drug use. And normally Bhagwan always supported me when I bring information, legal information I give him, etc. this time he said, Sheela, you stay out of it. And I could not compromise because he had given me a job of protection. I could not protect him. I sat with 6 months with this conflict, agitation in me, unhappiness in me. First time, unhappiness I had felt in my job, and to a point that I would feel comfortable when I'm away from Rajneeshpuram. And then one morning, I returned back from my travel. I was suffering with severe bronchitis, an infection in the throat. So I wrote a letter to Bhagwan, thanking him for giving me the opportunity, but it's time for me to go. And these letters are printed in the Don't Kill Him. And I sent it with my secretary, Savita, to Bhagwan. That was when I decided, and next day, I left. I left immediately.
Sheila, one question. Sorry if I'm hurting you by this question. If I'm hurting you by this question, please pardon me. Bhagwan always believed in free expression of sex, and that was sort of the philosophy of the Oshoism. But when you say that you never had sex with Bhagwan, what stopped the two of you? What was that factor that didn't attract you physically to him or him to you?
I never thought of it because sex is not where my feelings were. I had my own lovers, and Bhagwan had his own lovers, and that was not.
That's what I said. It's a curiosity. It's a curiosity factor because you were the closest to him. You were the closest. You were the most trusted. And still, when we feel that it was not a taboo there. It was such a, the bit I have read about Osho says that if you have a mutual feeling, never hide it.
We didn't. We didn't hide any feelings. And if Bhagwan would have reason to have sex with me, I would consent to it without hesitation, without a thought.
Did you ever express your desire to him?
I didn't have this because I had my own lover. And one of my lovers, I used to call him a caveman because he was so good in bed.
Well, of course. What do you mean by a caveman? Was he as wild as the primitive, or what do you mean by that?
No, the way he loved me, when he would see me after a few hours that I'm returning back from somewhere or so, he will pick me up in his arm and throw me like a potato sack on his shoulder and run.
Much like the caveman.
And just that act in itself was so funny and so enjoyable that, that he was my caveman.
Was the caveman the best among all of them?
His name was Vitrag. Vitrag, my caveman, I used to call him.
Was he the best among all of your lovers? Was he the best among all of your lovers?
I would say so. I would say so.
Would you go back and explain these things to Bhagwan that I had this experience today? And how would you crack this as a joke to him?
I talk such things to Bhagwan also at times.
And he never said,
when
don't
I
do
was
it.
having fun, I mentioned. And Yeah,
Probably
he would
you
listen.
no, my person. You two would have had a laugh. The caveman ran for a kilometer with me on his shoulders. Such jokes. Maybe that's something that we would like to hear from you. The jokes that you crack with Bhagwan about your experiences.
Well, I would definitely miss that kind of a episode with Bhagwan, and I need all kinds of episodes. I would say sexuality is not where my love was
That is towards Bhagwan.
towards Bhagwan.
But were you sad at any point in time that he never expressed it towards you? Because you were there, ever ready to consent. But he never had that for you. Did that sadden you any bit, any time?
No, but he did consent to me also when I give him information and beautiful example I give you. And recently, it is a theme among Bhagwan sannyasin they discuss. I went with Bhagwan to immigration office for his green card. When we returned back, afterwards I had a meeting with the lawyers because I had an intuitive feeling government won't approve his application for green card because of under category of exceptional men of exceptional ability, though he was a man of exceptional ability. So this next step was we could put second application under the garb of religious teacher, philosopher, religious teacher category. But lawyers explained to me that it is he has to become a religion. He has to have certain criterion to fulfill. One of the criterion is every religion has to have a Bible or Gita or Quran. Every religion has to have a priest. Every religion has to have religious holidays, etc., etc. Bhagwan was always talking against religion. Yet, we were all engaged with him in a feelings of reverence. So, he qualifies as a religion. But how do we do it? Would he agree? Because he was strongly against all established religion. And now we would have to create him and his way of life a religion. Bhagwan surprised me. I am out of my wits. How am I going to do this? And Bhagwan says to me, Sheela, I create religion now. You declare it is a religion of Rajneeshism. And then he dictated me number of pages on each category. He created a little book of Rajneeshism, told me to publish it, then go around first in America to different centers, different communes, and introduce religion of Rajneeshism as a high priestess he designed me clothing of a priestess in his image, and then call a press conference. After a US press conference, I had to fly to Europe, Australia, and introduce his religion. So the man was flexible.
See, one point is that he was ready to become a cult by then. It was becoming a cult. He was like a cult by then.
Yeah, the cult is a Christian word. What they don't understand, they negate it by calling it a cult. It doesn't disturb me, it simply tells me the person doesn't understand the word.
One question I said, Sheila. Have you come across this new phenomenon of Kailasa, the country Kailasa Swami, a person who has taken an island and declared it a republic? Have you come across him anytime? There's a new phenomenon of Kailasa, the kingdom of Kailasa, by a Swami, Kailasananda, I think his name is. I think he has stolen your book from you. He has done exactly what you and Rajneesham was, and he has established his country and his religion. Have you come across any other Indian godman who's of interest to you, like Sadhguru or Sai Baba?
No,
Because they all have, I won't say the same about Sai Baba, but about Sadhguru. You look at him, a lot of things that we saw in ashrams, the music, the dance, the big bhajans, dance that people interming.
Bhagwan is a pioneer, and people copy him. That is the fact of the matter. I would say no need to copy, direct, take Bhagwan's discourses and present it to whoever wants to know, or take a book of Bhagwan and say, please read it, you will enjoy it.
But one of his books that most surprised me about his book on the books that he liked. He published a book, right? The books I love. So Bhagwan had a book, right? The books I love, the books that Bhagwan loved. That really surprised me. Tell us about his reading habit. What all interested him, the literature that he read.
Bhagwan had a huge library. He was reading in his time 12, 15 volumes a day. It was even a problem at times for people like me to supply the books, because he was going through it faster than we could supply. We used to order his books from India, definitely, but we used to order from England, US, wherever we can find something, new materials that he would enjoy, we used to organize. His library had about 150,000 books, and each book was read by him, and he would sign it in the front. And then when he finishes, at the end, when he finished it, the book would be marked in 3 colors according to his liking. He had a photographic mind.
What would the colors denote? What would those colors denote? Like a green would mean it's a good book, red would mean don't touch it. Can you explain about the color code that he followed?
Yeah, he was an artist at heart.
No. The books you said he classified the books with color codes, 3 colors. What were those colors?
They were black, green, and red.
Okay, each denoting
and
what?
He would mark only with a point.
So black would mean what?
I don't know. I
Okay.
never asked him.
Okay. But did he ever advise you to read any book other than his?
No, he didn't tell me to read anything, because when I want to know something, I ask him directly, and he's a bigger encyclopedia than encyclopedia
He
itself.
loved music also.
Right.
What type of music interested him? What type of music interested him? Music that interested Bhagwan.
Yes, Bhagwan liked good music. And he loved poetry. He loved saints like Kabir's poetry, or Mira's, or the people. They have meaningful things to offer to the world.
One last question before I give the floor to the audience. Do you think the world misunderstood him? Because some people think he was a maniac, some people think he was a maverick. Do you think the world has not understood Osho as he should have been?
I agree that world has not understood Bhagwan because we live very limited thought process. Bhagwan was a fine analytiker. He was a fine orator, fine explainer, and direct. No one likes direct flaws or faults. And the traditions that we live, the roots are so deep that we are afraid to shake them. And if you want to learn something, you have to shake those roots. You have to open your doors and windows for the sunshine to come in.
But Sheila's rule number 17 or 18 says go back to roots. Your book says that. I didn't say that.
He talks in contradiction. And you have to have intelligence enough to decipher and walk between the contradictions. The best you can walk through the contradiction is how good your intelligence is. Try me.
Still a great pleasure talking to you. Now the floor is open. Questions, yes. Yeah. Ma'am, please, all my request is keep those questions straight, direct, and shortest so that many would get a chance.
My name is Girija. It's such a pleasure meeting you. Couple of questions. Did you miss the US commune after you left? Did you go back at any time at all?
No.
Question number 2. I love Osho's work. I've been reading him for a number of years now. Do you think, as Manoj asked you as well, he is misunderstood, right? Could you have done anything to prevent the disaster that happened? Because I watched Wild Wild Country with interest. And is it part fiction, part truth? Because it was really painful to watch the lot of incidents that happened there.
The disaster that you talk of is that world doesn't understand Bhagwan. Bhagwan was dealt with politics. US government did not want, at that time, Republicans were the ruling party, and they don't like anything that is not white or looks like them.
Did the Republicans kill him actually? Did the Republicans kill him?
Yeah.
You're saying that?
They are dangerous. I agree with you. And they managed somehow to destroy this wonderful experiment that was created by Bhagwan. But no worries. Experiment is still on because I am alive.
See, you were the main force behind the township, the massive township in Oregon. See, I don't know who owns it now, or is it with the government? Have you ever followed up on that? What happened to that?
No. When I left, I used Bhagwan's teaching, burned the bridges behind, and I never looked back.
But you grew an army there. You had an army with a lot of guns and automatic weapons, right? To protect yourself.
Definitely, we needed it, and it was our second constitutional right, self-protection.
Yeah. Ma Anand Sheela, it was really interesting hearing you. The lesson, the takeaway we have is even after so much of tribulations, you are still calm, serene, and without any malice. But I have a question to you. Was spirituality, calling him Bhagwan, sannyasi, all these were masks for a pleasure and, the extroverted living? Yeah.
It is a shame, but I can look after myself and hold my own dignity. I wish more people would do that.
I think her question was that whether the spirituality and the curtain of a spirituality, if I have understood you right, ma'am, was it a sort of a camouflage to misguide the world about the extrovert life that you had, about a lot of sex and music and fun and drugs?
First, I have no spirituality. I don't think in terms of spirituality. I respect you, and therefore I give direct answer what in the moment is in my heart.
Hello. Ma Anand Sheela, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you here. I just wanted to ask one question. Like, if the disaster didn't happen and Bhagwan was not into drugs and everything was smooth between you and Bhagwan, how do you imagine the community to be at the current date?
I would imagine the community would be productive, and we would have implemented many new ideas as we go along, because the community was created out of a need. And one now says, in the world of psychology, for dementia, integration of people and contact, inclusion of people is so essential in modern days to avoid catastrophic illnesses. And I'm sure we would have done something in this line also.
Ma, there were many remarkable men in your life. The whole world knows you, or rather identifies you, in terms of your association with Bhagwan. But what about the other men, beginning with your father himself? He was such a wonderful person. who was a freedom fighter who went to the British jails. You grew up in the Sabarmati ashram, was close to the Mahatma himself. And also your first lover, your college mate, Silverman, who was diagnosed with cancer at the young age, and he was given just 2 years by the doctors, and then you had a wonderful relationship with him for 13 years or so. So why don't you talk more about the other men, especially your father?
Why don't I talk more about my father?
And other men in your life.
In my book, By My Own Rules, I do talk about my father. When I was 16-year-old, I was next day flying out of India to US for studies. And my father sat me down and gave me last-minute advice. He said, Sheila, no, he called me Sheely then. Sheely, I am sending you to US to learn. And you are shortly will come of age. Don't be shy. Mingle with everybody. Make friends. But don't fall for the trap of marriage the first person you meet. And my father explained to me the sexuality and how sexuality plays a role in one's life. So he said, experiment with few young men and find the one that suits you for your needs also. Then that is the person you can settle down. And that was a very profound advice father had given me at the age of 16.
Hello, ma'am. Greetings. I have, it's possibly because I'm next to the speaker. I have 2 questions to you. One is, how are you right now? And the second question is, looking back, people talk about your life with Osho, the cult, your time in prison, and so much and so more. If you had another life, would you choose the same life you lived today, now, in the past, or what you're going to live in the future? Or would you choose something which is different, and why?
Very good question. To answer to your question, I feel wonderful among this beautiful crowd of people. And Manoj asking me question. My hearing is not so good anymore, so I have difficulty understanding. But somehow I manage. The second question, 100% I would wish the same life for my next life because it is not boring.
And you want the caveman also to be there.
Right. And maybe next life I can do more work for Bhagwan.
I think we have time for one last question. Somebody had raised a hand. Yeah, maybe 2 here and there. You have 2 quick questions. Yeah, one second.
Hi. Mine is going to be a quick one. What are your thoughts on Wild Wild Country? What are your thoughts on the documentary? What is your story? Where are you coming from there?
Let me understand the question.
First question was your thoughts on the Wild Wild Country documentary. What are your thoughts on that?
What am I talking? Reality. My reality in Wild Wild Country. I talked about my intention, my community's intention, Bhagwan's intention, and tried my best to answer over 100 questions that they had asked me in 5 days of interviews from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, 5:30 in the afternoon. They filmed me 5 full days.
Hello, Ma. I came running to see you. It's great actually to see you in person. My question is, if Bhagwan was alive today, today's times, do you think, see, our youth is in need of good teachers, you know? So do you think he would have been a good teacher to today's youth, or do you think they would have got more confused in today's times, you know, with his community and teachings? Thank you.
When you look at the history, you recognize that what you see and live in the moment, you find always fault with it. It has happened to many people in the world that people don't accept them. And the rejection is automatic. Sometimes, after they die, people recognize their value. And that is unfortunate.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have time only till now. I'm Sheela, watching you talk, watching you walk, watching you engaging with the audience is like watching the sea. You know, every moment you're changing shape and you are still a mystique and a mystery. We all love you. God bless you. And ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great session. We don't go by the number of people, but the quantity and the quality of the people here is very good. Thank you very much for being here.